Tales of the Titans, starring Beast Boy, number 4, written by Andrew Constant with art by Brant and Stein. Which I really wanted Brant to be Frank for some reason, but Brant and Stein. But not like the letter N, like two freaking people, Brant and this other guy, Stein. Brant and Stein, Lee Loughridge, and Wes Abbott. And then this one, for our finale of the Tales of the Titans, we're going to get...
Do you think it's Brandy Brant from back in the day and like Ben Stein?
No, I don't. No, I kind of wish it was now.
That'd be a great combo. Oh, my
Who knew they were such great artists? Because the book looks good to a degree, even though it's not a style that I enjoy, especially for what we're doing here, because it's very cartoony, especially when you come to something like a Raven. And not even that, but like the Andrew Constant version, like I don't know if they went for the cartoony like feel because that's their style, or if they read the script and realized Andrew Constant's writing Raven like a little girl that he's never seen before, so let's write it like, cartoony aspect, because I don't know who this Raven is. I know in the regular Titans book, we're doing the softer side of Raven, which I enjoy because it's like something new for the character, especially she's in a loving relationship with Beast Boy. But this almost feels like a high school, like, first-time romance for how it feels, and it's so out of whack to me.
Eric, let me translate to people. You're saying it sucked. And in that, I think they're like, well, let's go even more cartoony because who cares? Let's make a werewolf look like Shaggy. Let's do it.
The Wolfman.
Anthony Lupus.
Ooh-wee. This is a weird issue, Eric.
And not even that. When the Wolfman's there and Beast Boy turns into a Wolfman himself, Beast Boy stuff, he looks like the most sexualized Rule 42 werewolf furry that you could ever imagine.
Yeah, he does. You're right. Also, I think that I prefer Brandy Brant's art over Ben Stein's. That's just me. But I like when Brandy Brant shows up here. This is one of those Tales of the Titans where 34. I'm sure you want to let everybody know because what you thought and what we thought we were told these were going to be. A modernization of
contemporary
the origins to get them up to speed with an open timeline to end up showing us what's what. That's what we thought they were. I don't know if that's, hopes and dreams from us, but it seemed to be spelled out. Now they're just like, let's see what the hell's going on with this character and the play here. And I saw people applauding the idea of Beast Boy getting over trauma. That's fine. But he's getting over trauma that I'm telling you, I barely can even remember anymore. It's so far removed.
It's almost like the idea. It's an epilogue to Dark Crisis is what it is. And it's such a weird thing to have an epilogue to Dark Crisis, which I want. I want the idea of Slade shooting Garth in the face, fucking up his eye, almost killing the guy.
Oh, I thought you just wanted that again. I thought you liked
I know. I want that to have real ramifications beyond the point where Beast Boy can't turn into anything but a sheep. He's sad, depressed, won't get out of bed. Even the idea where he just goes on random walks at night or goes on swims because he's trying to make himself turn into a big animal and he can't do it while he constantly has Slade talking in his head about how he wrecked him and shit like that. I wanted those things. This is like, I'm telling you, everything's resolved here and it means absolutely nothing by the end. But I wanted that aspect to be almost the ruination of Beast Boy, Garth Logan. And I wanted to be to a point where he might go to the dark side and try to get revenge for what Slade did to him, especially now that he's withered old Bacta Tank fucking Slade in a coma.
And as you're going, that I want to know if he knows that, which he should, but also the idea where maybe the play, and I thought we were kind of getting like, oh my God, this is actually, almost like you said throughout that whole Summerly Night Terrace. Ooh, this is the important book.
The most important book in DC
out of
Comics.
Nowhere, this book is going to tell you what happened because we did get a editor's note in Tom Taylor's Titans that, the eye's better. Well, you're going to have to watch and see it in this issue to let us know how and why. It just ends up being mention of it healed. That's it. And then I'm thinking beyond that, we have Beast World coming up. Oh my God. Yeah. Beast Boy is so desperate that he's going to get involved in some of this splicings of the DNAs. Oh my God, there's a Wolfman involved that he met. And then it really doesn't mean anything. At the end, you're just done.
The Wolfman.
Yeah, you're just done. And it is a classic character and you do get, but I love the idea. And I'm saying I think it's ridiculous, but there are a couple points. There are a couple points in this issue where Andrew Constant does like even worse than I hate when you have an issue and they'll say like, hey there, Eric. What are you doing, Eric? Did you go downtown, Eric? And you're like, really? Do it naturally. Yes. In this, you end up Beast Boy at one point actually opens his mouth and Wikipedia just shoots out of it where he starts like saying, oh my God, my old teacher who used to tell me that, like, he goes through these big yarns about the people. It does give you the background. It's so unnatural, even when he introduced
my foster father,
Anthony
who just
Lupus.
took me in order to get my father's money after my parents died.
And
I have expected it to continue on with the idea of Mento taking him in, and because when he even says, "Oh, my adopted father who tried to kill me," because I'm like, well, Mento tried to do that too. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, keep going. And it was so funny because I was thinking it's like people tune into the podcast. A lot of people will be the first time like, hello, Eric, my podcasting partner who taught me all about the Green Lantern Corps when we started working together 10 years ago, and he made fun of that sticker on my pants. Eric Shea? What kind of dialogue? What kind of dialogue is this?
I got to go to my wiki page.
He introduces like, hey, do you know who I am? Because he goes out and he gets captured by this Anthony
Lupus, the Wolfman.
And when you had, and I want to say Lupin because of the whole Harry Potter, but it is Lupus, like you said, almost like the Bad News Bears. So you end up where he's like, do you know me? Yeah, you're a werewolf, former Olympic athlete. Went to see a scientist about your headaches. He unleashed your recessive lycanthropy. And then it explained it. Fought Batman a bit. He brought you back from Alaska to save your niece, leukemia. I'm like, that's a weird name to call his niece.
Fought Batman a bit. He brought you back from Alaska to save your niece, leukemia. Wow. All right. Just bullet points at this point.
It's almost like the idea, if Lou Gehrig's mom didn't name him Lou Gehrig, he never would have gotten Lou Gehrig's disease, Eric. She set him up for failure. Seriously. I really thought, like,
what are the odds?
They named the niece leukemia, and then she got leukemia. Oh, my God. Like, what? It is comic books. That's what usually happens if you have that name.
Dr. Octavius.
Just the idea. I wanted there to be a pause, and then you have Anthony Lupus is like, you're weird, dude. Like, the way that you just said that was so odd, but it's the only way that you can seem like, you know, Andrew Constant can figure out to go and do this. But when he does it again later with his stepdad, it's very odd.
Not as odd, though, to the idea where Beast Boy and his trauma-soaked self trying to get back to the old Garth that he used to be is kidnapped by Anthony Lupus because former Olympic athlete Anthony Lupus, who was turned into a werewolf by a mad scientist, well, he's been doing some thinking, you know. If he kidnaps the Beast Boy and uses his DNA and uses his somehow scientific knowledge to create a formula using Beast Boy's DNA with shape-shifting, he's going to be able to repress and maybe even just get rid of completely the Wolfman side of him. But you know what the damnedest thing about this is? It turns out that the Wolfman side of him is the one that's been giving him the ideas all along because the Wolfman side of him is the real scientist who I guess who's been able to fucking formulate this bullshit because the Wolfman wants to get rid of Anthony Lupus.
Who would have thunk it? I wanted him to also say, and by the way, I want to be called Werewolf by Afternoon.
Werewolf by Morning.
Call me a Werewolf by Olympic hurdles. I don't know. And really, you're jumping through hurdles and hoops here to do this. So, speaking of which, when I was a hurdler in junior high, I legitimately jumped through hurdles. I was the worst. I won one race because the other two people from Strayer, Eric, and you know how big that was, right? Milford versus Strayer.
Yeah.
They were worse than me, and it was pretty funny. I legitimately every hurdle on that whole track was knocked down from all three of us. It was bad.
Did anybody's parents show up, or were they already ashamed to?
No, they were ashamed, and I'm like 2'8" at that point, and I'm doing hurdles.
This is why I never want to be a parent, because the idea of how many parents fails, and the idea where, you know, some kid with no athletic talent, like me, or maybe even you.
I had athletic talent.
You know what? I'm gonna go run hurdles. They should just step in and say, look, I want what's best for you. Don't fucking do that. Just don't fucking do that. I don't need that constantly in my life as a parent because I would feel like I'm constantly letting my kid down.
To explain this all, the only reason I also did a bunch of the sprints, but nobody would run hurdles. I said, why not? I gave it a shot.
There's a lot of reasons.
Legitimately, Eric, at one point I made the joke. I wasn't sure. Can I run under them things? Because I probably could have.
Limbo.
I'm like, here we go. I was not very good. I tried, though. But you end up with this. It could have been something bigger.
Something bigger than Anthony Lupus? How dare you?
Well, I'm saying with the stuff with Slade. You kind of push that aside to have
even the idea of the stuff with Slade could be really cool. The freaking inner voice, the trauma, the everlasting hope, like, you know, psychosis that Slade had left on him to be like, you know, an imaginary friend casting his doubts constantly. But even when you have Slade show up at one point without his mask, I don't know who the fuck that is because I don't know what the art's doing with drawing Slade without his mask on. At least with his mask on, I could tell who it was.
Yeah, he actually looks like a manga. No, actually, I know it. He's Solid Snake when he shows up without the mask. He's 100%.
Because all of a sudden, he's a young man.
Oh, yeah. Now, in that, I thought at one point, I get this, Slade of the Mind. He just wants he wants a buddy who's missing an eye like him. He's sick of actually people yelling at him with the eye patch, and there you go. You got Beast Boy going around with him.
You say that could even lead to some more trauma. The idea that he not only did Slade do this, but he made me look like you. Like all the fear and stuff like that.
I think they should have played that.
I want Beast Boy slamming his fist against that Bacta tank, furious, trying to get to that decrepit Slade after Dark Crisis. I want to see some real emotion besides for sad sack freaking Beast Boy, who has a vision of Raven, who came to visit him in a dream while he was in isolation in captivity by Anthony Lupus, to then say, you know what, Raven, you really got me over it. Look, baby, my eye's back. We're all good now. The end.
I can see with 2 eyes now. Oh, my God.
There's so many opportunities to tell good stories with real characters, real drama and stakes. But no.
You could have had some shit talk from Slade even, like, really? Like, that's going to set you back. That I got through it. I'm pretty kick-ass. But you end up having all this going down, and he is even in, like, a tank, like Slade is. Like Slade. Again, this is all of the mind. He's thinking this, but then he's going completely insane. He's thinking, oh, my God. And that's where he starts laughing because all of a sudden a guy pops up and he yells, ha, 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 my lovely adoptive guardian who took me on for a parent's money after they died, who then tried to kill me. Yeah, sure.
Come over here, a wallet.
Galtria. I'm like, this is so heavy-handed and goofy, but not goofy to be fun, right?
Like, in order for like Lupus to get what he wants, he doses Beast Boy with a toxin that he's created to try that he's like, he uses on himself to try to repress the werewolfism inside him, but it hasn't worked anymore because he got a
tolerance for it.
A tolerance, thank you. I cannot think of the goddamn word tolerance.
Just think of heroin and you'll come up with it. Yeah.
But the idea is, he doses Beast Boy with this, but also makes a sedative. So Beast Boy will not be able to shapeshift anymore, but he'll also be knocked out so Lupus can do his experiments. And Lupus tells him, this will last on you for a week from this dose that I'm giving you. Until it doesn't, and Beast Boy breaks out and is able to shapeshift no problem.
And that's the problem. And in this, I think that it's one of those weird plays. You know, when we're reading an issue and we'll say, boy, this feels like it's a lot of like stream of consciousness stuff going on, like it's being written on the fly. Because I think at one point, Andrew Constant's like, oh shit, I'm kind of setting up Anthony Lupus to be this kind of, guy that maybe Beast Boy can save. I better make him bad. So out of nowhere, he just has to remind, oh, by the way, my niece, I went after her later and ate her. And I did some bad shit. Yeah, and the wolf did it. But you end up like that weird play that you have to really like lay it on. But this is such a disjointed.
But the thing is, even with that, Beast Boy is not going to let Anthony go. I'm going to save you no matter what. And to the point where when Anthony goes and takes the serum that thinks going to cure him, and Anthony is repressed, and the wolf comes out completely in his biggest, baddest, big bad wolf form that he could possibly ever have. And then Beast Boy shows up as the sexiest wolfman self and puts the wolfman in a headlock and says, you know what? I don't believe your serum really worked, and I don't think you do either. So what I'm going to do is hold you in this headlock until the sun comes up and you return back into Anthony Lupus.
Sexy headlock, too. Eric, at one point when he shows up, he's definitely teabagging
Roman Greco style.
Lupus, right? He's just full out teabag. Also, right before that, as that, oh no, now Dad showed up. Like, what is going on here? And I know that it's supposed to be that trauma showing things. That's when Raven shows up and looks like, I guess, Mr. Thompson let her out of third period 8th grade math because she looks like she's in middle school. As she
I'd even say during this whole thing, because the reason on top of having the hallucinations of Slade, which is completely a trauma, the reason to have the hallucinations and everything else is you have a psychedelic element to the toxin that Lupus gave Beast Boy.
Yeah.
So he's having hallucinations of all these other things on top of Slade. Now, I know DC doesn't want to play it because it doesn't make sense anymore because technically after Deathstroke series by Christopher Priest and his Defiance run where Deathstroke had its own super team, Tara Markov is still alive. But you had this huge thing with Beast Boy where he was in love with her and betrayed by this woman, this girl who's going to take down. You could have had her, but you can't anymore because DC also doesn't want to play that because Slade was diddling children in that. So it's a problem.
That is true, Eric. You don't need the diddling.
So she's no longer dead, but she also is sometimes when they bring up the idea of it.
Well, and so what you end up getting, though, is that weird play because you're playing, hey, there's Raven, but she's she's just an hallucination. But she also has the soul self, but this isn't that. That's where it gets me at the point where
she's dream walking.
She's a dream warrior. I don't know. Why not use the characters of what they have where Beast Boy thinks that, oh, I'm hallucinating again, but maybe this will be a trial run. Hey, baby, I got my eye. Ooh, wee. And then oh, shit, it's a soul self. I feel like a jackass now. But it's not that. She just ends up later saying, I had a dream and I thought you were in this. And he's like,
you saved me, baby.
She doesn't save him. She just gets him fired up to save himself. But in a dream of the dream walking, of the dream warriors, of the nonsense, of nothing.
Could have had so much good shit with Beast Boy instead of you threw it all away for cartoony nonsense.
It's very cartoon, and that's my weird play of this. Is it actually seems like an issue that could have been very heartfelt. It could have really dealt with trauma in a way that's not just thrown at you and almost ends up being kind of ridiculous by the end. You could have seen
a different side of Beast Boy besides for the jokey, sexed up version that you get nonstop because something here he has actually experienced trauma and needs to get over it. Like, even when we saw him trying to do this in the Power Girl backups in Action Comics, he's a fucking lamb. That's all he is. Like, give me more. Give me more Garth. Give me more character. Give me a reason to actually like this character.
You have Anthony Lupus there because of that pseudo kind of weird connection of a guy who ends up turning into a beast, can't control it,
shapeshifter,
wants to go and control it, while you have Beast Boy who is having problems doing his transformations, things like that.
He wants to be a beast while Lupus doesn't.
They end up teabagging and punching. I mean, you don't even deal with that as much, and it's just then you get sexy headlock. Yeah, that
Fabio Werewolf.
I wish we had like 7 pages waiting for that sun to rise. Because he gets in the headlock. He's like, yep, it's like 8 hours till sunrise. I guess it's going to be a long one.
I'm telling you, the thing is, the sun comes up, the werewolf goes away, and you're left with Anthony Lupus. Maybe until the sun goes down. I don't know, but it looks like he's stuck with the Joker toxin now.
Yeah, it looks like he's now completely insane. And then Beast Boy's like looking at him, and again, I told you, that look that they have, it's so cartoony. And he ends up, well,
I'm going to put you someplace safe where you'll be treated well, Anthony.
I think he just throws him into the bay. He's just like, whoop-a-doop. Like, you never really know because he says, I'll put you somewhere. He says, then I'm going to do the same thing for me. Oh, all right, because I think
you're Raven, baby.
I think you're taking Lupus to Arkham. I mean, and he's like, hey, hug it
Hopefully,
out.
But he's in Portland.
Who knows? Who knows how things work nowadays?
Hey, Raven, open up a portal for me. I got a fake werewolf man here now. I don't know. Not even fake, an old werewolf man who might transform. Who knows what happened to Anthony Lupus?
And then the big play at the end of the cartoony deal. I've searched for you everywhere. I like the idea, too, because Dream going the idea of just on the fly. They want to say that Raven left no stone unturned, but she did actually visit him while sleeping. So that means at some point she has to mention that. I searched everywhere and I couldn't find you. By the way, I did have to take a nap at one point, and then I dreamed of that. I'm like,
it was nighttime.
I just like that. I dozed off once. Like she has to. I really was looking. I just want that Andrew Constant thinks that Beast Boy's going to come back and say, really? You were looking? Well, you came to me while you were sleeping, you lazy bitch. Like, I don't know what to play.
That's what you want Andrew Constance to write?
I'm saying, why would she have to say, well, I dozed off? Like, she has to explain this.
Because you're trying to make that, what we thought was a hallucination, an actual physical connection between Raven and Garth, and it doesn't play out.
But you're also wanting to play the idea that she was so upset that she was going insane trying to find him, but I dozed off.
Insanity makes you sleepy.
I dozed off that one time. I'm like, okay. I found you in a cell, buried deep. I'm telling you, it's so ridiculous. And he's like, yep, you saved me. Oh, man, you're home. No, I'm back. It just shows you, baby. Beast Boy is an asshole.
This isn't my home.
He always has to have the last word. The idea, she says, Gar, you're home. He could just hug. He's like, no.
You can relate to that, huh?
And then she's like, no, back again. And then he's like, no, shut the fuck up. And now they're fighting. And no, you dozed off, bitch, you lazy ass. I mean, I'm telling you, it's so odd. Everything is weird in this issue. But hey, his eye got better. Eric, remind people
it healed.
How they explained
it got better.
It was an okay play in this issue of I'm really upset. Because at one point I'm like, holy shit, he's walking around with a hole in his fucking head. But then he's like, oh, it did heal. That's a pretty good deal of like even the idea of like an athlete where, you know, I'm saying me, Eric, obviously.
Of course you are.
I'm supposed to do the hurdles and I ended up.
Boy.
I broke my ankle, but I don't think I'm going to be. So I just keep pretending that I'm injured because I'm too afraid to come back and fail. So, yeah, so I do like that. But the way it played out when we're here waiting for this, okay, what is this explanation? How is it explained? It just healed. Okay, we really needed that, editor's note. It could have said,
perfect.
It healed. That's it. So odd. But what would you give this?
I would ultimately give this a 4 out of 10. It's very disappointing all the way around. Like the art style is cartoony. It's not for me, and I don't think it works for this. But I think for what it's doing, it looks good. It's just not great for the issue overall and what they're trying to convey. The characters look very like cartoony version of themselves in a story that I feel like should be taken seriously outside of the Wolfmans. And even the Wolfman idea, it's a really disappointing way to try to give Garth his groove back.
Still, I'm wondering why Lupus's niece was named Leukemia. I still don't understand that. But also at this,
Leukemia.
I searched for you everywhere, but I couldn't. ... I dozed off.
Leukemia.
Raven reminds me of you. You always say to me, like I say, listen, nobody saw that. Let's just pretend. Oh, I don't lie. I'm like, you don't, it's not lying, just not saying it. And that's what I feel like she doesn't have to say. She just says, I searched for you all over. I couldn't find you. Done and done. Let's hug it out, bitch. You're home. No, I'm back. Bada bing, bada boom. But it's just odd.
He's back, baby.
Did you give a score? What was your score? A 4?
4 out of 10.
I'm a 3.5. This is just, it's pretty bad. It's really bad. It was fun, though. I had a good time laughing about it, but not with it. I'm laughing at it, Eric, just like the people in the schoolyard back in the day for you while you were on that teeter-totter all by yourself. It doesn't work that way, Eric.
It's kind of a big deal because I had like 5 guys on one side, me on the other side. I'm a powerhouse.
I love the idea that you go home like, Mom, you don't let them make fun of you. You're a powerhouse. But Mom, they said I was a big fatty. Really? You're that too. But still, just go with it.
No, I'm Eric Cartman.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.